Yo, man, what's up?
Hey,
Hey, it's your name. How do you pronounce your name? Is it Hosiah or
Josiah.
Josiah?
Hmm.
No, that's a biblical name, right?
Yes, sir.
Where's that story come from?
The the biblical name or the my parents giving me the name?
I guess your parents giving you the name. This is recording now, by the way.
All right, all right. So, I grew up in Roseville. I'm familiar with a couple of your friends. I know Evan Santiago, Daniel Hindugan, and all of them. Uh,
I think I met you before. I went to Grace Bible Church before.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I met all of you guys, but that was back in like a couple years ago.
Sure.
Yeah. Hannah and Dan wanted me to come in and try. I was like, yeah, dude, it was fun. I'll meet some cool new people. But
Right,
anyway,
right.
yeah.
But yeah, so my parents are Christian. I'm Christian. My mom wanted something unique, so my mom's name is Dareth, and she didn't want to name me John or David, so she decided to give me Josiah
Josiah.
because she flipped randomly the Bible, said, "There's a king in the Bible. I want my son to be a king," and
Uh-huh.
well, here I am. Definitely not a king yet, but hey, who knows?
So
And
so
go ahead.
so tell me about yourself. Like, where did you like from high school to college? You went to UC Davis?
Sure. Yep, yep. So I went to school in Granite Bay. So I'm a very big proponent of school choice because I was very fortunate to be able to go to a very nice high school. Took me 30 minutes to get there by car, but it was
Wow.
worth
Is it
it.
worth it?
Oh
Oh,
yeah, oh yeah.
damn.
I made it, just because you meet a lot of people who they've they've gone through the business world. They've got, it's not necessarily the connection because I don't know how many people I actually stayed in touch with from high school, but
Yeah.
it's the mindset
Mm-hmm.
because you have even high schoolers who are trying to start their own businesses. One of my friends, he was a coder and he would make little apps for the iPhone and for the Android. Just fun stuff like that. Projects that get you really in an entrepreneurial mindset, in a growth mindset. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the biggest takeaway from high school for me.
Mm-hmm. And you went to UC Davis. What did you major in?
Majored in managerial economics. I will say one thing, I'm not a big school guy.
Hey, yeah, same here, man. I went to Sierra College, but I graduated
Sure.
2 years ago. But I was like, no, I'm done. I learned about,
Right, right.
the economy, the money management, stuff like that. I'm just like,
Mhm.
this is just not for me. I was just
Sure,
done with it.
sure. Yeah, and I think it's not for everyone, but it definitely is
No.
for some people. That's on the flip side. I think that doesn't get enough attention as well. So I
Yeah,
actually
I
went.
mean, if you want to
Go
be
ahead.
like a lawyer or a doctor or a nurse, of course
Oh yeah,
you want to have a degree and, you
right.
want
Or
to
if you're
have
into
that
research of
knowledge.
some kind, I like to advocate for people who are very research minded, who like discovering things. College is a great place to go for that. You don't even have to go to grad school. You can just do research in whatever field you're interested in, just as an undergrad. But you do have to be careful of the debt. So
Mm-hmm.
keeping that in high school, right? I didn't want to put on even it's a state school, so thankfully it wasn't too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I decided to go through Army ROTC. It gives me that full ride scholarship, so I get to say I went to college on a full ride. I mean, they
For is
they,
that
they
a
had
is
taken
so
8 years of my life, but
they paid for everything?
yeah. So they paid tuition, they paid fees, and then they give you a stipend once a month. I love putting this out there because for if there's any kids who are very athletically gifted and they're interested in, even slightly interested in the military, check it out if you're going to college. It's it's really just a free education, and then you get a lot more skills on top of your just civilian education that are extremely valuable.
Now, did you go to like army boot camp?
No, so it
How did that
wasn't.
work?
Yeah, so for ROTC, officers are like the officers are the softer soldiers of the army. So
Softer.
ROTC, yeah, and the reason I say that because there's two parts of the military. You've got the enlisted and then you've got the officers. And the enlisted is anyone can join. You can go right out of high school. You just take a quick test to see how smart you are, what jobs you'd be best qualified for, and then you go to boot camp. For officers, you get your college degree. You
Mm-hmm.
either go to West Point or you can go to like the Air Force Academy. One of the academies. You get your college degree,
Mm-hmm.
and when you graduate, you commission into the officer corps. And the reason I say they're softer is because you never go through that boot camp experience. So you never get the drill sergeants yelling at you. You don't get any of that. Even though I like to say, I'm still a soldier. It's at a different level. Mine's more I'm intellectually a soldier rather than practically.
I have a close friend of mine who just graduated yesterday, actually, in the morning. Me and my friend were watching it, the
Mhm.
graduation through online. So, yeah, I was talking to him last night. I was like, just congratulating him. He's
Mhm.
doing reserve and he's going through
Right.
AIT training right now. So, the advanced individual training
Mhm.
for psych ops. So, yeah, I told him, hey, man, just have fun. We'll see you in a couple months, I guess.
Right, right. Yeah, it can be a very rewarding career. It's a great opportunity if you're able to do it, if you're interested in it. But obviously, you do have to be willing to put in. I mean, there's you got to have a mindset again to be able to focus on the army and be able to take orders, be able to be a little bit tougher, all that.
Now I heard you're pretty like competitive. What's up with that? Like you ran did you
Yeah,
ran track in high school?
ran track in high school. I did. So I'm a very competitive person. I won't say that I'm very physically competitive compared
Oh,
to,
okay, 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 okay. I got you. Okay.
but that being
But
said,
mentally you're pretty
yeah,
competitive.
yeah.
Okay.
I hate losing. I love just not losing, I guess, is the biggest is the best way to put it. So I did track in high school, did cross country in high school, and then I did soccer on the side there. So a lot of sports, and I think that is a good sports is one way that I see kids can grow in a way for leadership. And for this is me, looking back, hindsight, leadership, you get that competitive nature, which helps give you some drive for a lot of other things in life. As far as business, obviously you got to be pretty competitive if you want to stay in the game. But yeah, a lot of sports. I did robotics. I
You
I
did.
single-handedly made the one year I did robotics. I suggested and helped plan the one part of the robot that broke it and and ruined our chances at the competition. So that lets you know how good at engineering I am. But
Rest in
I've got some other
peace.
talents, thankfully. So
Now, it seems like you have like a pretty like entrepreneur mindset. What's
sure,
are you reading any books? What are you doing now? Like, you graduated UC Davis. Did you
yeah. So COVID hit before I graduated.
Oh, wait, was that last year then?
Yeah, so that was last March. I graduated in June. I moved out here. I got married, moved out here with my wife.
Where you at
Um,
now?
we're in Walnut Creek, so
Oh, okay.
see
Oh,
beautiful California right outside my door, which
Walnut
is pretty
Creek.
sweet.
Yeah.
But I had one job for a short time. Fortunately, it didn't work out, and
Mhm.
then it was the mindset of 2020 is already pretty bad, so how much worse can
Mhm.
it get? Let's just jump feet first into something pretty crazy. And that crazy thing was commercial real estate. So
So you're doing commercial real estate right now at the moment? Like, did you
right,
get like real estate license, I guess?
it's in the works. I've got my test coming up actually, so I'm studying for that. But so I can't say I'm officially an agent, but I will be an agent come
Uh,
soon.
uh-huh.
Now, yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. I think studying for the test is not the best way to get into commercial real estate. Uh, that being said, I've only been in for about 9 months,
Hmm.
give or take a couple months, and I believe the statistic is 83% of agents they wash out in their first year.
Is it
So,
because they like just give up or
well, it's commission only. So
I see. I see.
when you're
If you're
not
not
getting a
making,
paycheck for a
yeah,
year, it can be
could
pretty
be
tough.
it could be very discouraging. I mean, you gotta pay for your rent, food,
Mm-hmm.
for if you have kids,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta put food on the table. So yeah, it could be really discouraging. I could really see that. It's pretty hard. You said 80%?
83. Yeah, that's
83%.
yeah.
Damn, that's crazy. So why are you doing this? What makes you want to do this? Or are you just exploring,
Yeah, well, I have always seen real estate as one of the prime ways to invest. It's really one of the best ways, if not the best way, to really drive after a like financial freedom.
Okay, okay.
Because I mean, I could get into the accounting part of that.
We're
What
getting
was that?
into I said we're getting into my topics now. So
Yeah,
financial
yeah.
freedom. Okay, so are you trying to do single family house, multifamily? I mean for commercial, you got to have a lot of money save up,
Right, right.
or you can go to a crowd-funded real estate fund,
A
where you
REIT.
can
Yeah.
just, yeah, REIT. Well, a REIT is what? It's a stock, right? That they pay you dividends.
Yes and no. It depends how big. It depends how small it is. It depends what kind of properties they're investing in. A lot of times, I'll say most of the time though, it is just going to be the profits are passed back on to the people that invested in it.
Well, I think they're as a REIT, as a real estate investment trust for those who are watching or listening. So they're required by the SEC, I believe. You can big fat check me on this, that they to give back
90%.
90% of their
Yep.
profits to the shareholders, basically, right?
Right. Now, I don't think that a REIT is the best use of if you're able to invest in real estate, try to invest in the actual real estate
Like
because
single
there's
family houses.
single family houses are one option. I'm not personally in that market. I specialize in multifamily and other commercial properties,
Uh-huh.
but I think single family is a huge there is you can very quickly gain traction if you even begin in single family real estate, or if you're getting duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes, you can amass a small fortune very fast just because of so many like guarantee you can have what I consider guaranteed returns, that being depreciation. You get to save 15% of your paycheck depending on where
Yeah.
you are, just based on you're depreciating this asset.
Yeah, but also, isn't it also based on your free cash flow? Like basically for real estate, it's whatever, your basically anything, like anything beyond your expenses, like everything paid expenses. What is your cash left on hand, which can
Right. So
be
your net
saved,
operating income is going to be whatever your revenue minus the expenses are.
right?
But you can add that expensive depreciation onto your balance sheet. And Uncle Sam is the one that's going to be taking the most money from you whenever you're trying to save up for, that financial freedom kind of deal, right? So,
That's tax advantage though, right?
right, exactly. That's why real estate is so good, because the government loves it when people buy more of their land, right? Because they get property taxes, they get to build up cities and create more wealth around the whole country. So it's very incentivized to actually own real estate, which is why I think it's one of the best ways to quickly move to financial freedom.
Doesn't I mean, I know Donald Trump. I don't want to talk politics here, but Donald Trump is into real estate. before he was president.
Yes.
And
Yes.
his dad is the one who started it,
Right.
I
So
believe.
without speaking to any of his policies, the man is a genius when it comes to two
Real,
things. That's going to be
real
real
estate.
estate and that's going to be marketing, right? And so he's in those fields, he's very much so an expert,
Hmm.
and specifically those two fields. I mean, he's on television for God knows how many years. That's very much so his focus, and not just Donald Trump, but I'll say many real estate moguls. They follow a similar investment model to what Donald Trump does with many liabilities. That was the whole thing with his tax returns. Liabilities, he was in debt a lot. Those debts are just mortgages that he can depreciate against his taxes, so he doesn't make as much income.
And he used that. He isn't doesn't he use his real estate investment to kind of legally, use it against his tax? So I think a lot of people thinks
Yeah, yeah.
didn't he?
So
I think there was like a statement that was showed that the how much taxes he paid, which is like, like Jeff Bezos. I think they. Yeah, I saw this. I read this. Jeff Bezos or Amazon, they didn't pay. They paid $0 in taxes.
right, right, which is from a moral standpoint might be a little difficult, but if you're just an accountant that has no morals, it's pretty impressive, right? But and that's because every dollar that Amazon makes goes back into their business, which is something I also advocate for anybody just getting out of college or even up to 30 years old and beyond. Really, if you're just trying to grow, you want to put the money that you're making back into yourself, back into your business. Some way you want to make it work for you. And that isn't just buying new phones or whatever your next purchase would be.
Yeah, well, it seems like here in society today, from my observation,
Mhm.
it seems like everybody wants to keep up with the Joneses. So meaning like
Sure.
they want to buy the new things. They want to buy the iPhone 12.
Mhm.
Hey, I got me an iPhone 6. This is back in
Sure.
2016. So they want to spend their money that they work hard for, their
Well,
hard earned money.
why do you think they like to keep up with the Jones? Why aren't they just content with what they got?
Well, I think it's because of their lack of confidence. Like
Mm,
um they just want to show people that,
mhm.
oh, I got this new thing. I'm cool. Like you're
Right,
cool for
right.
having the new thing. Oh,
No,
I got this new
I definitely agree
Tesla.
with that. Yeah.
But looking at it from the inside, their bank account, they don't have anything. They don't have any assets. They don't have money working for them.
Mhm,
Our last year, I think our the Federal Reserve have print so much money
mhm.
that our dollar is inflated. So
Yes.
that's why there's billionaires are. That's why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, because like 55% of Americans or 45% of Americans doesn't own any assets,
Sure.
meaning assets as in like putting money in your pocket, so
Mhm,
making your money work for you. Because your money doesn't your money works 24 hours when you
mhm,
invest it, whether it's in the stock market, real estate, cryptocurrency, all those meme stocks.
mhm, mhm.
um, so instead of buying like new things and keep up with the Joneses, why not like invest it so that you can be financially independent?
Mhm.
Meaning like your assets pays for your monthly expenses.
Right. Right.
I always say I've learned this before. I've learned this and I've experienced this, and I'm doing this is live. I guess the cliche is live below your means, and
Right. Right.
it's not how much money you make; it's how much money you keep. Because
Mhm.
with the more money you make, the more taxes Uncle Sam takes from you.
Right.
Especially
Right.
here in
Right.
California when we have federal taxes and state taxes.
Right.
Now, if you
Right.
live in Texas or Florida where they don't have any state taxes, then that's a different story.
Yep.
Um, so, like what's your anything to add on to that? What's, do
Yeah,
you
I
have
mean,
any like
I
investment
got a lot.
philosophy? Do you have investment? What are your strategy?
Here's my investment strategy. I see, and this is gonna rub a lot of people the wrong way
Hey, dude, that's
because
fine.
I
Speak your
see
truth, man. Speak
I
your
see
truth.
stocks. I see individual stocks. Even if you think that you're getting diversification, say if you buy a stock in Amazon and a stock in some
Tesla.
gas company, some other, but because they're both publicly traded companies, you're still going to have too much correlation when there's a downturn. We saw this in 2000. We saw this in 2008,
Eight.
2009.
Mm-hmm.
We saw this past in
Year.
2020, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my my investment strategy, if you're looking to get capital appreciation, which again, taxes can get you caught there with capital gains taxes. But my strategy is actually to seek out markets that are the least correlated as possible, and then put a proportionate amount of money based on how volatile those markets are.
Well,
So something like pork bellies, that's gas. Gas is actually just crude oil. You get some futures for crude oil. You can have that as a portion of your portfolio instead of buying into ExxonMobil or something, right? Where you'd be exposed to the company and not just the underlying asset, right?
mm-hmm.
And
Well, so you like to diversify.
I think there's a minimum amount of diversification you need, because you can still get the same returns as if you just, well, not if you put your eggs all in one basket and got lucky, but you can still get a very similar return if you diversify a small amount versus if you just if you put your money in a couple stocks,
That's what Ray Dalio, who is a famous hedge fund billionaire,
Mm-hmm.
um, he his I think his investment philosophy is basically to diversify. So he got
Mm-hmm.
stocks in China, Africa,
Mm-hmm.
gold, silver, commodities, some stuff like that. But for me, at least, my investment strategy is growth. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm holding for long terms. I
Mm-hmm.
used to invest in like dividend stocks investing, like different
Sure.
dividend stocks. So basically companies that are paying for owning the shares of their company. I'm
Mm-hmm.
explaining this as we speak, because I feel like this could be a different language for other people who are listening.
Sure.
So for me, I kind of re-strategize my investment philosophy to growth. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm more researching different types of companies that I like that's producing products that are that's giving value to different companies, whether it's a B2B or B2C company.
Right. Right.
I'm more in the future technology side of the stocks nowadays. So like AI, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, EV, um, blockchain technology. So
Sure.
there's a lot of things that you can invest
Well,
in.
that's definitely, I don't think that's a bad strategy by any means, because if you are spending enough time in one specific company and you're actually researching, what their management philosophy is, what their sales practices are, how they're going to get their product from the business to the consumer, business to the other business, whatever their product line is
Mm-hmm.
or their service line is, you can see. And that's what angel investors do. When you're an expert in your field, you can make money off of that, right? That's really just the name of the game. Is once you're an expert there, that's how you can make a lot more money. That being said, I think the diversification and buying into the trend of the price,
Mm-hmm.
that is good for anyone who might be, a state worker or a teacher, right? Someone who
Who
might
does
not be.
who's not into stock, who's not into investment.
Right.
Yes, yeah. So I always like kind of when people ask me like, oh, should I invest in the stocks or this individual stocks to
Mhm.
invest in Tesla? I was like, well, I don't know your situation. It's not
Right.
my hard-earned money. I don't want to be liable
Mhm.
to um saying yes, yeah, this is a good company if I haven't even done my own
Mhm.
research. And by the way, all this talks, this is not a financial advice or anything, so just to protect ourselves.
Never will be.
So I don't I just tell them like, hey, if you want to invest your money, make your money work for you, just
Mhm.
put in an S&P 500 where the returns are. If you're if you're betting for America, and if you like America's as a whole, as a country, and the companies that's in America, then put
Sure.
your money in an S&P 500. I know Vanguard has
Mhm.
their own S&P 500 fund.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm not sure what it is. I think it's VOO is the ticker symbol. Um,
Mhm.
and you can be diversified through that. In the index fund. But in terms of like in the
Now, I actually, I mildly disagree with that. I think the S&P 500 is a phenomenal asset to put your money in,
uh-huh,
but
uh-huh.
I don't think it's diversified.
Yeah? How
Yeah.
so?
So that goes back to what I was saying earlier with whenever you see a downturn, you're going to see a lot of positive correlate or yeah, a lot of positive correlation
Mm-hmm.
between those stocks that are in the S&P 500, in the Nasdaq, in whatever index fund you want to say. They've got a lot of they follow the same pattern whenever there's a downturn in the US economy, right? Because it's all businesses, right? So that's the market that you're paying for is companies. That's where I try and get into futures and other asset classes because you can buy a titanium future, right? Something that is extremely useful, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have to necessarily hold it because you just get the paper. But then you're now in titanium and the S&P 500 to totally like where's the crossover, right? It's going to be a couple companies in S&P 500
Mm-hmm.
can maybe affect it, but it's minimal, right? And that's where that's how the diversification should be pursued, right? Is how can I get the minimum amount of crossover between these markets?
Or are you saying like get investments for people to buy if it's if like an inverse relationship kind of investment?
So that's actually another problem is if you have a negative correlation, that's too much, right?
Yeah.
So if you have because I'm still stuck on companies, right? If you have Shell and then some other petrol kind of company, right? If
Uh,
one company has a big oil spill, right? Their stock price is going to drop, but Shell is going to conversely jump up a marginal amount based on how much that dropped, right? Because it's an alternative. It's an alternative investment to that
investment.
original one,
Mm-hmm.
but they're still related, even if they're related in a negative way.
Yeah, well, they're in the same market, so
Or like gold and silver are two similar things, right? If gold goes up, often silver can go in the opposite direction. Depends on some investor sentiment. Um, Normally, you'll see a little bit of they'll go in opposite directions at least marginally.
isn't it when let's say the S&P 500 goes down. Now S&P 500 is a benchmark for those who are watching to kind of compare your investment returns. And also the Nasdaq, the Dow Jones 30. Now if the S&P 500 goes down, isn't it usually the gold goes up because people likes to put their money into gold where it's more safe and it's gold is physical asset,
Hmm.
it's tangible.
So a gold future is actually still intangible because you're just going to be having the paper. It's the promise that you will receive gold in the future.
Right, right.
You're supposed to sell it before that date comes up, right? And
So
then
that's how future works. So you buy a let's say you buy a gold future. and you basically there's a date for you to receive that physical
Right.
gold.
Yes.
So basically, you have
That's
a paper that's saying like, oh, you will receive this physical gold at this date.
right. Right.
Um,
So if you just let it lapse, they'll ship you a shipment. That's why that's I don't know if you remember, it was maybe a year, 2 years back, there was a point where the oil price went negative. That oil price is the price of oil futures. So when you purchase the oil, they have to ship you the barrels of crude oil, right? And then you have to store it. That's why it went negative, is because there
so
was so much oil, people didn't know where to store it. If you had a warehouse, you could just buy some get paid
mhm.
to store some oil
Oil,
barrels and
yeah,
sell it later.
it's like the problem of supply and demand, right? The more supply
Absolutely.
and there's less demand, then it's cheaper. If there's more demand and less supply, then
Right.
it's more expensive.
It's
It
partially supply and demand. It's mostly supply and demand, but a lot of it too is just like with fiat money, it's the belief
oh
of how much the this is the belief of how much this random thing is valued. You know, I could say
well, the
let's take a look
government tells
here.
us that this piece of paper
Right.
is worth X amount of money that you can so you can buy products, and that so that's kind of how the economy
Right.
goes,
But it might be worth more to someone else. And then if there's enough people that think it's worth more, it's going to drive the price up because now to buy it, you have to fight against all these other people who think that post-it is worth $10. So you're going to have to buy that post-it for $10 instead of a cent, right?
Hmm.
That's where this goes, is because the markets aren't perfectly they're not perfectly fluid. They're not
They're very liquid.
yeah, they're not liquid, but they're not perfectly liquid. They are very liquid, but they're not perfectly liquid. Because if they were
Hmm.
perfectly liquid, you could just buy at any price, basically, right? So the price would shoot up and down super fast. Which
Well,
is why I personally promote you should do some research on this on your own, right?
this is not a
Trend,
financial advice.
yeah, yeah. look at You want to look at the trend of the price, because a price it can drop fast, right? But it can't drop immediately. So anytime I see something going up, I put a little bit more money into it so that as the price goes up, I can keep getting those returns. Then once price drops 10, 12%, whatever your benchmark is, right?
Hmm.
So this is after it starts to drop, then I sell.
Mm.
Because then
So I'm sensing here you're a short-term investor.
no. This is long term. So this is
Okay.
actually over the course of months. So uh I'll take the
Well,
average.
short-term investor meaning like it's less than a year. Now, long-term is more than a year, and that's where you get tax advantage for holding an
Sure.
asset.
So it's still, because you can still hold it into perpetuity. Oftentimes these holdings go on for years, right?
Hmm.
And I actually like to have I add a short position in. I have some very small short positions where, but again, it's only based on the trend of the market. So
So for those people who are listening and watching, what the heck is a
yeah,
short
so
position?
shorting is when, if you heard about the
Explain.
GameStop fiasco, right?
I've heard.
It's when you borrow, yeah, five widgets, right? And you sell those on the open market, right? But you still have to pay back that person you borrowed from. So at some point, you're going to have to buy back 5 widgets and then give those back to the person that loaned them to you.
Right. So if the price goes up, then you would have to buy at a
At
more
a higher
expensive
price.
at a higher price. So
Right,
that's
right,
and so you're betting against the company to go down and to go, better to go bankrupt, to go
right.
down, so that you can sell it at a lower price and give your
Mhm.
initial borrowed 5 widgets back to the whatever
Right, right.
company or individual investors, other institution that you borrowed
Mhm.
it from, so that you have an extra other 5 widgets that you just got it kind of like for free, right?
Right. Well, yeah. So
You're kind of using it as a hedge.
Right. No, that's exactly what it is. It's just meant to be, it's meant to cover us so I don't have to be out of the market and I can still be active. Okay, here's the deal. I think I think because the price is already decreasing. I mean, this is literally what hedge funds do. They just
Mm-hmm.
watch the price, right? And if the price is going up, they put more money into it. If the price is going down, they short it, right? That's all any hedge fund ever does. Now they'll mess around with the exact numbers about when they get in or get out. But if you're just if you can do a small amount of management on your own part, but you can't have any emotion in it. I mean, you have to write an Excel sheet or some sort of program or just have your little rules on a sheet and you have to follow them. Because as soon as you start putting emotion into it, then you're going to start losing money.
Well, that's like
Because with
that's like
this,
that's like a thing for investing. It's like the biggest thing that you can have is gut, and
right.
having no emotion and putting your logical thinking to why you initially bought an individual stocks, or why
Mhm.
you're putting your hard-earned money to this type of vehicle, investment vehicle that
No,
you know.
and that's not to say that emotion is bad in investing. A lot of people they'll put 10,000 bucks in their cousin's business or whatever, but that's perfectly okay. But if you're looking for long term growth specifically, then the
Mhm.
logic is going to be the best means of doing that. Um, I mean, I have on my laptop, like it's just a word sheet with the rules that I have to follow. And anytime that I'm ready to make a move in the market, like I check my word sheet first, right?
Uh-huh.
And I mean, it's worked out pretty well for me. Um, I've done, yeah. I I I recommend people find an advisor. Read
You got some books in there?
Following the Trend. Read Following the Trend. That's a great book to learn about this. It goes
Mhm.
into a lot more of the math, goes into some of the statistics of how this actually works. Um,
Now,
but
if that's if that's you though, like if that's for an individual person who is very technical and into this, but what about for people that are like have no idea, have no passion for
mhm,
investing, or they're just like, oh, this is only for the rich,
sure.
or this is not for me. Like I don't understand this. What is this technical, going up and down?
Yeah, well, it does take work, so you got to be passionate about it in the first place. So if you don't want to deal with if if seeing a little line go up and down doesn't get your heart racing, then maybe you should look at some other ways to increase your wealth. I'm going to go back to real estate, right? Commercial real estate. The
Now, do you have any investment in commercial real estate, anything like that?
Not yet. So because you still need the down pay for me to feel safe when I purchase real estate, I think that I'd need a I don't want to have to deal with any of those 0% down per. That's way too much exposure. That's way too much risk. Um, I believe 35% down is generally the accepted amount currently for most of California.
To
Depend,
for the prices to go down, then you'll buy?
sorry, 35% down payment. So
Oh, down
like when you
payment.
buy a house, right, you got to
Yeah.
put 20% down. For commercial real estate, it's 30 to 35. It can go all the way up to 50%, really.
Oh, I didn't know that one.
Hmm.
So 30 to 50% between those lines for commercial real estate.
Correct.
So commercial real estate are apartments building, right?
Commercial real estate is it's like an umbrella term for everything, including warehouses. So what Amazon uses, shopping malls,
Offices,
a
right?
McDonald's, a bank,
Not everybody know
apartments.
McDonald's is a real estate business.
It is. Well, that's at least that's what the founders said, right? So if you're franchising a McDonald's, you do got to make sure you're on the right corner.
Yeah, and you're paying rent to the actual McDonald's company to, because they're renting it to you, right?
Right. So I think right at this point, if you get a franchise, you do pay a small franchise fee. Often McDonald's corporate will just make their own, they'll pick a location where they want to put a McDonald's. And if you own the building, they'll pay you. So that's why real estate, that's another reason real estate can be so good, is because you're having people pay you to pay your mortgage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So back to, if you're not into math and statistics and all that, really,
I'll be honest with you, I'm not into it.
Sure,
I
yeah,
took
no,
I
no,
took I took AP Calc, passed the test, but I had fun in class, in high
sure.
school, when I was taking the AP calculus, and I was just like, I had fun, but man, I was like, nah, this is not something that
Sure.
I was seeing.
So,
Right?
especially if you haven't purchased your first home, your goal should be to what's commonly known as house hacking. So you want to find some multifamily property near where you want to live. What you're going to do is you're going to live out of one of the units. So this is going to be duplex, triplex, or fourplex, right? So you're going to 2, 3, or 4 units.
I think I kind of know where you're going with this.
Sure. So you live out of one of the units, rent out the other 3. The idea is
get a
you're having everyone
free
else
rent.
pay most of your mortgage for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Or some people just getting free rents.
Right. Well, and there does come, I won't say this is just free money, because there is a lot of work involved with this. You're going to be a landlord. So now you've got to deal with tenants. You've got to learn how to.
You got to manage their property, make the tenants happy,
right.
Deal with the tenants. Something was broken, you got to call somebody to fix it.
You're running a small business, right? That's all real estate ever is. It's lots of small businesses based on geography instead of a product, right? Your product is the location.
Mm-hmm.
So house hack, if you're a veteran, get your VA loan, get an FHA loan. There's lots of options out there for you to get into your first property.
Mm-hmm.
Once you save that 20% down payment, you have a very great opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're married, whether you're single, whatever your living situation is, if you can house hack, that is going to set you on the path to
financial freedom,
retirement, whatever your goal is, way faster than if you bought a single family house and just pay the mortgage based on your day job, or if you're renting, right? So
let me ask you this: what is your meaning of being successful?
My meaning of being successful. So I have had this goal ever since I was...
Beside God first, beside following God first, but
yeah.
following
so
that.
As far as when I was 14, I first started thinking about money and not just jobs. Like I always loved selling Otter Pops or lemonade or whatever, but big picture stuff. 2008, my parents, or my dad, lost his job. That was a pattern for a couple of years. I mean, Dad, if you're watching this, thank you for losing your job, because it really taught me so many things. Honestly, I mean,
hey,
it
Dad.
was a hard time, but it was we really came out the other end, and I feel like I learned so much. And I was 14. Really, it was okay. I want to have enough cash flow to be able to support myself, right? Because if I can't take care of myself, then
you can't take care of anybody
else.
Yep.
Right. So I want to keep my expenses low. I want most of my cash, though, to be able to go to, now my wife. Eventually, I want to take care of my parents. I want to take care of my siblings. My little brother, he's 10 years younger than me, so he'll be going to college 6 years, I think.
How old are you?
I'm 23.
Okay.
Yeah, he's 12. So he's like 10 and a half years younger than me. But the idea is I want to be able to support my family. I want to be able to support my friends if need be. Something I have seen my dad recently, because actually it's surprisingly doing extremely well recently with his business that he just started. He's been
Mm,
able to support other people in his church who've had some financial difficulties.
hmm.
I think the church is just really an extension of your family.
Right, right.
You're all supposed to be brothers and sisters in Christ, right?
Hmm.
So if someone is struggling, that's that's a very great way to be able to help them out, because everyone knows it's the lowest parts of poverty that are hardest to get out of.
Hmm.
And if you have if you have a mind for business and for
Hmm.
saving money, that's going to be a blessing that you can give to everyone else.
Okay. So what are some of the, and thank you for that insight. What are some of the I guess some of the memories that, fun memories that you've had as a kid, high school, whether, a church, you guys do retreats,
Yeah.
stuff like that. You guys do kind of different type of games.
Yeah. So I was not a nice kid. I was not an easy child to take care of. You just ask my mom. I argued with her day and night. Thank you, mom, for being patient and still
Damn.
raising me. Um, you know, I was pretty difficult. I've had some struggles just um, all through middle school and high school. I think
What are
what
those
I
what are
had,
those
I
struggles?
yeah, well, a lot of it was based on that competitive nature, hating to lose, right? I felt like I was losing a lot. And that was something I had to come to terms with is you can't win at everything, first of all. Um, it's okay not to win at everything, right?
Hmm.
It's okay to lose at most things.
Hmm.
The idea is you every person's been gifted with a couple talents, a couple God-given gifts that they are good at or they're passionate about,
Hmm.
and you need to follow that passion, and you need to constantly be beating yourself, winning over yesterday's self and trying to be better at whatever that is, getting 1% better every day. And I found that was I learned that through cross country, right? So
Hmm.
I'd played soccer all my life. I went to play soccer in high school, didn't make the high school soccer team.
Hmm.
I did cross country. That first year, I learned, I had so much fun. It's just running, right? You think it's just pain. It's just, I mean, it's the same motion over and over. But when you get to spend time with other people who enjoy hanging out with you, you get to just go on these runs, you get to talk, you get to interact with each other. You know,
Hmm.
it's again, high school sports is just one of those times when you get to have fun, you get to
Hmm.
make connections, you get to learn about yourself, you get to learn about how the world works. I think sports is really like one of the main memories that I've got that I cherish all through middle school and high school.
What are the things that like you kind of learned throughout this life so far, I guess?
Yeah, I learned how terrible I am at arguing.
Oh boy.
um,
Did you read a book
yeah,
about
so
that?
yeah, it's it, I think it's one of the lost skills that we as
Human beings.
society as the United States that we don't know how to do anymore is civil debate. And I used to be very argumentative. I wouldn't say I was a skilled debater. I was just argumentative, right? So it wasn't in a nice way that I would, I'd say, no, you're wrong, da 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 da, right?
Hmm.
It would be very rude. It'd be very in their face. I apologize to anyone who's gotten that side of me, but
Apology
there's
accepted.
definitely yeah, yeah. And there's definitely a way though to approach someone in a loving way and
Hmm.
say, "Hey, Chris, John, Bob, you know, I love you, man. Yeah, I've seen some great things in your life, but I think there's one area that we need to talk about. Maybe
Hmm.
can we go talk about it over coffee or something? Even just kind of spacing it out. I think is one skill that I had to learn.
Hmm.
Um, Giving lots of positive feedback in the midst of it. Um, yeah, sports can be very confrontational, even amongst teammates. I had one good friend of mine. We still keep in touch every once in a while. He was much faster than me, but I was in my mind, I was much smarter than he was, right? So there was this conflict, right, where I was jealous of him being faster than me. I wanted to like get my will over his, and somehow exert authority in some way.
So is this like your ego?
Oh yeah, in
But
every means of the word, man. My ego, when you're 16, 17, ego's all you got.
yeah, you
But
don't. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I was thankfully humbled in many ways. Just talking with a lot of the guys, and I argued with this guy about some stupid politics policy thing, or I don't
Hmm.
even. I'm sure he doesn't remember either. But I
Hmm.
had some other guys on the cross country team. They approached me, you know, afterwards, a couple days later, and they're like, "Hey, man, that was kind of rude. I don't I don't think you should be talking to him like that." It's like, you're right. And again,
It's like,
humbling
damn, you're
myself.
right, man. You're not. It's like it hurts my ego, but man, you're right.
It is. I mean, if when you have someone else come to you and it's like they're a third party and they just heard the conversation from across the track or whatever, that hurts because you're putting yourself out there, and that's who you are. Bible says the words of your mouth come from the heart. Who you are is what you speak, right? And me talking with my cross country teammate, it wasn't very loving, right? I didn't have a very loving heart. I wasn't a very loving person.
Hmm.
Um, I hope that's changed.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm always welcome for feedback. Recently, but
It's well. It
um,
seems like you're working on yourself. You know.
yeah, well, that is one great one great blessing, one great charge that the Bible has for people who read it, who believe in its teachings. It definitely charges you to be very intentional about your growth.
Hmm.
You've got the armor of God. You've got
Hmm.
Paul in the New Testament. He frequently uses uh, like athletic training, right? So you're working out, trying to get stronger, and you want to run the race of. I'm sure everyone's heard you want to run the race with endurance, right? So actually, that was my favorite verse back in high school when I ran cross country. But you've it's there's a high bar. That high bar is Jesus, and
Hmm.
uh, we want to strive after him. Not that we're going to ever get to where he was in our lives, but that growth is something that you really want to focus on, and you'll be rewarded for it in heaven. So
So okay, so I want to end this podcast with a couple kind of fun question. Just
okay,
wanted
okay,
to
let's hear
see your insight to this. In and Out versus Five Guys.
it. Ooh,
Oh, you're from
so
California.
yeah, I love both. Now it depends because I think Five Guys is I mean they got the peanuts, right? It's a lot more nutty, it's a lot more crispy often. But In and Out is just it's so fast, it's so cheap. It's You can't beat In and Out. You can't beat In and
In and
Out.
Out, In and Out.
In and
Okay,
Out.
so what about Chick-fil-A versus Popeye's chicken?
Actually, I had Popeyes. The first time I had Popeyes was so 2 years ago,
Uh-huh.
2.5 years ago
Mm-hmm.
in Idaho. and
Wow, Idaho. What are you doing over there?
I was up there for like a something with ROTC. We were just
Okay.
up there, meeting some other guys. Um, met apparently like the only Mexican woman in there for miles, so
Okay.
gotta speak some Spanish and um,
You're right. You speak
gave us
Spanish, huh?
yeah.
Your sister
Say
speaks
hello, people.
Spanish, Malia, right?
Yeah, my sister. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's a lot better than me.
Yeah, I met her
But
that couple months ago.
oh, okay. So Popeyes to Chick-fil-A. I think Popeyes for flavor, for sure.
Popeyes for flavor?
Yeah.
And what about Chick-fil-A for what?
Chick-fil-A, they get points for saying my pleasure after everything.
And last question, what and who inspires you?
Ooh, what and who inspires me? Besides Jesus,
Yes, besides
there's
Jesus, I was just about to say that. It just crossed my
yeah.
mind the first time I asked the second I asked
You
that
know,
question.
there are at the church that I attend here in Walnut Creek,
Hmm.
there are some very intentional men. And by that I mean they are very busy. They
Hmm.
serve in the church in multiple capacities. They're in a lot of different areas.
Yeah.
Um, they are very upfront about their struggles in their lives,
Hmm.
um, and they always make sure to have time for other people in the church. And uh, with COVID, it has been a huge struggle for people to meet up and to be able to have that human connection. I think my church, shout out to Chris Oliveri,
Shout out
and
to
Paul Louis
Chris.
Matan. They've done a phenomenal job of reaching out to me and my wife and making us feel loved and making us feel like we've got a church family out here. And it really just encourages me. It inspires me to want to uh, make others feel at home, make others feel like they're cared for,
Hmm.
especially these days when it's so hard to get encouragement, um, and it's
Hmm.
so hard to be able to just talk with people face to face. So
Right.
yeah,
Well, thank you for I appreciate your time. Thank you for doing this the Project Zero
yeah, sure
podcast.
thing,
Hopefully, I can get you in sometime soon again.
sure thing. Have me as a guest star on one of your on your next debate, right?
Debate. All right, man. Hopefully you have a great weekend. Congratulations with
Yep.
your marriage with your wife, and I'm praying for you guys.
Yeah, thanks, man.
All right, see you later, bro.
Yeah, bye bye.
Bye.